Hey, it's Ari. One of our goals in the podcast has really been to help leaders learn from each other, to really engage and grow with the concept that a rising tide lifts all boats. In this episode, we've compiled a whole bunch of great lessons that we've heard from the people that have been on this podcast, focused on how to engage our teams, make them more productive, and make our businesses even stronger. Get your notepads ready. You're going to learn a lot in this one. Just a quick reminder for you to like, subscribe, and rate this podcast so we can get your feedback and know how to make it better. Do you have like a leadership lesson or something that you think about, like a mantra to think about, when you're in those challenging times and you got to reset, you don't want to react, but you want to engage, or just a leadership lesson you want to share?
Yeah, there's really two things that I believe strongly in. One is that never overreact to a crisis. Look at the crisis, figure out what you need to do, be thoughtful, bring in people to help you make the right decision. You don't need to make all the decisions on your own, and move forward. And you're gonna make mistakes, and then you got to pivot and change. The other thing that I really believe strongly in, from a leadership point of view, is that I think people need to put themselves in uncomfortable positions in the business community. And what I mean by that is take on a challenge. So you have worked for 10 years. And you may be a manager or director in some company, and you have an important role. Somebody says to you, hey, I think you could do this job in Brazil if you go there for 2 months, and I know it's a challenging job, I know it's a challenging opportunity. What do you think? Some people might say, no, not interested. The person that says, yeah, I want to do that, and they know that probably they don't have all the answers, it's going to be uncomfortable, and they're going to need help, you will learn so much more in those 2 months than you would do in your job for those 2 months. So put yourself in those uncomfortable positions, and because ultimately that's how you're going to learn faster.
Gotta get out of your comfort zone to learn and grow.
Yeah.
I can see where people would be, drawn to your leadership. But how do you, that's on a one-to-one basis, but you're working for large factories where for you to do one-to-one engagement on a day-to-day basis just doesn't seem practical, or maybe it is, and I don't know. How do you replicate, how do you scale, that's a good business word, scale. How do you scale that engagement and scale your personality?
It gets realized in many different aspects. So first is doing the gambas. So I understand I can't see 180 people on a daily basis. You're right on. However, they see me on a certain frequency. And when there is that engaging discussion, there is a follow through on if there are opportunities, and or that I ask them, hey, there is an opportunity, but you're the expert. How can you help me? I need your help. Right? So just literally engaging them. We have started safety committees and all that. So there is an engagement for those team members through those where they take the actions, they walk away with things, they identify. It's not that someone else identifies. They identify things and they walk away with actions and they came up with the solutions, right? So now they're engaging the workforce, right? So it's all in having the right team to work with you.
So going back to sort of managing the different businesses, you talked about empowering leaders. And I think this is a really important business topic because it's easy to say, hard to do. And so I don't know if you've maybe talk about what the difference is between how you go out and empower someone to do something versus abdicating your responsibility, giving them the right guidance to be successful, but then not over managing. I don't know if you have thoughts people could take away from that.
Yeah, I think, and I can't say that this is the recipe that everybody can follow and it's going to be successful, but in addition to giving people the latitude, the business unit managers, the ability to, run their businesses, we had monthly meetings. And so it was one of the things where, I wanted them to have the enjoyment of managing their business, but I also wanted them to have feel the weight of the responsibility by having to present to their peers. So what would happen is every month, and once we had the financials done, we would sit down as all the business unit leaders, and they would have to go through line by line on, top line, kind of the expenses, the bottom line, what's working, what's not. And so I think by having that additional pressure of just knowing that that they are accountable, that elevated I'd say the level of responsibility with the team. And so I think that, we did that all through 2019. We didn't do it quite as aggressively in 2020 because things were just, seemed like they were really clicking. And right now, because of the acquisition we just made in New Haven and the cost of it, we're going back to doing the same thing. So
bring it back. Got to play the one that works, right? Got to play those hits. The company's bigger, it's growing. You've got a dynamic young workforce that's motivated, that's following you headlong into this whole process, and when I say following you, willingly beating the drumbeat and excited about their opportunities to kind of work and do different things in the organization. So you have made it to the other side.
That's the environment, core values, right? And everybody understanding the vision. This thing is not me anymore.
Right.
This thing is way bigger than Ray. And that's what I want. I want to build it like I'll be dead before it's done. Right. I want to provide a company that people want to come. Now, they used to want to come work for Ray. Mm-hmm. Wrong. You want people to come to work for Westminster, right? And how are you going to do that? You got to listen to your customer. What do your customers want? I hear all the time, "Oh, you're hiring all these kids, and they're going to leave." I said, "Okay, are you married?" Right? Do you let your wife go to the grocery store, afraid she's going to meet somebody better than you? I mean, if you're putting into the relationship and you're listening and you're nurturing and you're communicating as to what the needs are, and I'm not saying that we're just giving everything away. You just got to listen to your customer. Everything that we've done and built in the company has come from our customer, which is our people. Right. It's all been driven by them. I did not drive this stuff. I'm not smart enough. The Kylies and Jasons and people like that have created a lot of this. I created the vision. I'm not going to lie to you. The vision is 100% mine. Sure. But the rest
and the energy and the passion and the support and the wherewithal.
Yeah. I mean, and most importantly, I'm going to get really close on this, the money.
The money. Yeah. Hey. Well, it's an investment, but I think it's so interesting, and we see it all the time, kind of in the technology space too, right? Where you talked about before, you whether it's buying a poster and you think that makes culture or whatever, we see that too sometimes with software, right? You just buy software and you install it, and miraculously everyone's going to know how to use it, and very few, I should say, put in the time and the energy to invest in their people. And I think what you've shown, one of the things that's always inspired me is you took that I don't even know if it's a leap of faith, but you took that understanding and said, I'm going to invest in developing an organization that develops people. And you put time, energy, and money behind it, just the same way someone might do when they were developing a new product line, a new machine. And you got to look, if you want to make something different and unique, you got to do something different and unique. Yep. And that's what you guys are doing. And now I think it's a lot of people are starting to see the rewards that have come, but it didn't come without a struggle. No. And I think you sell yourself short when you say, that you weren't a huge part of it, because everyone that works there, when I talk to them, will tell me what a huge part of it, you were and still are from an inspiration.
Players play, coaches coach.
Right.
Right.
That's
Leaders
right.
lead.
What do you like most about your job?
I mean, it's different every day. Here I am today. I love
best day of the week.
I love being able to kind of connect with people in a different way. I love being able to be supportive. And it's really Simon Sinek that started the servant leadership. Mm-hmm. I really look at myself as the supporting. My customers are the employees. So, and I don't mean that in a cheesy way that I walk out to the shop floor and just say, "How are you?" I mean that how can I make your job easier? What can I do? What can I do better so that and it's not always just about the company. We want the company to do well, but if we're not doing well, the company's not going to do well. So, how can I help you? How can I be flexible? What's going, if you see somebody maybe not acting normal, what's going on? I think there used to be a lot of water cooler talk, right? Now a lot of people are kind of in their office crunching. If you don't take the time to connect with people, I think that there's something missing there.
We look at the organization structure of Whitcraft. We talk about it as like an upside down org chart. I'm a big proponent. We are big proponents of servant leadership. We see my job as being kind of at the bottom of the hierarchy, where I'm there to support my team and make sure. And how do I support them? I make sure that we're clear about what we're trying to accomplish. When you get 1,200 people like we do, if you're not really clear about what we're trying to do, then you can have people, going in the wrong direction and working really hard to do it. So you want to make sure everybody's aligned, and the better you can clarify your mission and be simple about it, the better that happens. And my job is through that is to support the folks that work for me, because their job is to support the folks that work for them. And at the very top of the chart within the company are the folks that are actually touching and making product. That's what we're all about. And the question I try to leave everybody with anytime I'm doing any kind of review, talking to anybody, is how can I help? And that's, if there's one thing I want everybody to be saying to the team they support is, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? That's got to be the goal.
Yeah, man. How can I help you? Best 5 words leaders need to know.
Yeah.
The more engaged somebody is in the workplace, the more tuned in, paying attention, thinking on their feet, critical thinking, watching, complying with policy or process, the better the product. The better they feel, the better they work with others. It isn't the woo-woo kumbaya group hug thing anymore. And it used to be at some point. What it is now is the driver of performance. Today, you have to both be good at what a job does and like doing it. Right? So even though many manufacturers are still behind machines, if they're not interested in doing it and don't have the aptitude or interest in being better at it, then all we do is struggle to get the bare minimum out of it. So it has shifted, it has changed dramatically the way leaders and managers need to think about how do you engage your people. And why is the word engagement so important? And there are so many things you could do. One of the things we always recommend is figure out where your engagement level is. So the Gallup organizations throws out their Q12, the 12 questions that when you answer positive or favorably to them, your organization's pretty engaged. In other words, they're thinking on their feet, they're working with each other, they're amping up their performance. That's what they're doing. And we don't have to mandate, get this done. Now we create an environment that allows it to happen, and they go and do it. Because they feel valued, they feel secure, they feel included, they feel like they make a difference. So you can mandate, and all you'll do is, when anybody tells you what to do, most of us put our shield up and defend our, or you can't make me do that. I've got kids, so I know what that's like. So, but if I instead invite you into being part of this bigger vision, and provide an environment that says, this is who we are and this is why we do it, and you're part of it, I make huge inroads from a performance standpoint. And that's the reason why I think LMC's onto something big. We have not nailed it down yet, absolutely not. But every day we are getting closer because I think our belief system has changed. And that would be the big message I'd share to everyone, that you can't tell people you care, you have to show people you care.
You might have an engineer that's very shy. Female engineer specifically that I know is pretty shy. Well, I can be kind of, overtake things, but I've learned to, hey, let me take a step back. And it's up to me to say, hey, do you have, what are your thoughts, right? And a lot of times what happens is, you get a lot of type A's. Well, she has a great thought too, right? So I've been able to try to check myself a little bit more, and the company's provided the training and stuff like that for us to open all of our eyes to say, hey, look for this person. It's not that they have something to say, but they're looking for that cue.
Dude, 100%. I feel that so much. Like sometimes being a bit of a type A myself, we can suck the energy out of the room, and not intentionally, but we're just so engage and like talking and feel like if someone has something to say, they're going to say it too. But man, you just said something I think so important on the head, which is, as a leader, our job is to get everyone's ideas on the table. And there's lots of different ways to do that. Like some people need to have the material a day or sometimes 2 days in advance. Like a lot of engineers, right? They got to process, think it through. And if they only get the material the day of, you're never going to get their ideas out. Or sometimes you got to go around the room and you see someone hasn't said anything, and you got to say, hey, Ari, hey, Justin, you got anything to say? And sometimes like the most amazing ideas will come out of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you maintain that compassionate culture, but also have accountability?
So it is a workplace and it's dynamic. And, I really feel like as a at-will state, we both have this right to move on. We define success as an individual that's come into our company, however they leave, whenever they leave, is better for having worked at our company. It might not have been a great fit, because the skills didn't match up or they didn't quite fit with the company culture. But were they better for leaving? Did they understand how great a workplace could be, how you should get along with your coworkers, or, that accountability does matter, and that if you're not being accountable to what you've said you're going to do, and that doesn't align with our company values, that it's not going to work for you at our workplace. And so, when we do have to part ways with employees, having the rest of the team understand, not the specifics, but that this is the criteria for which somebody stays and for which someone goes.
This is how we could make
and it's not necessarily related to mistakes, but if you didn't learn from that mistake or you didn't become better because of it, now we're all not better off, because you have to learn from it and you have to be accountable to what you're doing. And if you can't accept responsibility when you've made a mistake, you can't work with the team to understand how to do it better. It just doesn't fit with our culture.
I'm a big fan of not only mentoring, but reverse mentoring. As we age, we forget that we are subject to new technologies that we might not be touching every day, that our kids are growing up with as part of their normal life. Well, I want to hear from that generation, and I want them to train not me, but the team around them to stay relevant.
How do you do reverse mentoring?
I think it happens by osmosis too. Someone doesn't know how to do something, and you ask the person that knows how to do it to teach them, and that happens.
Right.
Or I called someone in my office, one of my team, one day and said, I don't know how to do this. I know there's a way to do it easier. Can you help me? I think it's by virtue of just displaying a little humility. I don't know how to do it. Can you help me?
I bet people really respect that.
Or they're just happy that somebody asked them to do it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, nothing feels... Well,
or they walk away smiling, going, "Ha ha."
Yeah, well, either way, right? But I mean, that's how
I taught her something this time.
Right, but that's how you make someone feel valued, right? Show them to be able to be humble and ask them to show you something. That's how we learn, and they probably feel really good about that.
Sure.
What do you think makes a good business leader?
That's a toughie. You have to be a good listener. You have to be able to deal with everybody's personality. You have to be positive. You have to be encouraging, right? Yeah. No one wants to be beaten down. You have to be my wife will love this. You have to be a good communicator. So love that comment. Yeah. Those are important things because everybody wants to know, hey, what's the horizon look like? What's my job going to be? So
looking out over the horizon, helping guide that ship.
Yeah, being motivated.
Yeah. What's it like to work at Gearing Metal Finishing? What's the culture like there?
It's like watching paint dry. Hey.
As you've moved up in your career and now you're running, hundreds of employees, right? You kind of got to help motivate people to get stuff done. Like, how do you kind of run that team? Like, how do you think about kind of, staying enough engaged to know what's going on, but giving people enough autonomy that they can make an impact themselves, be a leader of leaders?
Yeah. It's trust. The team I have, I trust wholeheartedly. They look to me to make certain decisions. We do have certain delegations of authority, as far as financial goes or something like that. But I wholeheartedly trust my team. And, I just went up through with my team in Windsor, my GM and my director of operations, and making, they want to promote a certain person. Hey, I trust that team. I trust them. I don't need to interview that person. I don't need to be, sure, I want to make sure that it goes through. I want to be an avenue to help them, through the HR process or, to make it happen. But it's really trust. And out of trust comes loyalty, right? So, I'm a very loyal type of person to my people. I genuinely care about people. I think that's the difference. You have some people or some companies that, it may not come off real, right? I genuinely care about people. I'm interested in people. And I'm interested. I could name every single one of them, my team's, wives or the kids and the family and stuff like that. And for me, it's I look at it as not 550 people in West Hartford, 100 people. You know, it's 650 people in Connecticut. I got 800 in my opco, but I got 800 families, right? Mm-hmm. You know, spouses, partners, kids that all depend upon us to make the right decision. I say this a lot to my business development team as we're trying to grow the business, and the engineering team is that, you know, our families are depending upon us to be successful, grow the business, and making sure that, you know, they can feed their families and their families can have family time and do the fun stuff as well, right?
Probably the thing that I relay the most on, that I lean back on as an experience, isn't necessarily what you'd think. A lot of people ask, geez, it must have been stuff you learned about manufacturing processes or, you know, how to understand financial terms, processes. It was really about leadership and how to deal with people. GE was really big on leadership, and I think they set some really great expectations about how to treat the people that work for you, how to grow leaders, how to make sure you surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, that are invested in what you're going after. That's probably where I, frankly, still call back the most when I'm looking for 2 cents from some of my mentors in GE. We're usually talking about people, not necessarily about financial numbers or engineering, but it's all about leadership and people.
Made in America with Ari Santiago is brought to you by Compass MSP.
Thanks for listening and spending some time with me today. My goal is to help build a strong manufacturing community, and it would be impossible to do without all of you.